You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just need y'all to pray for me. Y'all pray my strength in the Lord on today. I'm dealing with some stuff, and I need y'all to pray. I need the word of intercession, the words of prayer. I need y'all to pray for. Are
Yeah.
we live?
Yeah.
Or we?
I'm waiting. I was just waiting. Hello. Yeah.
The doors of the Love Church are now open. Dear world, you name it, we cover it from the world of singles to the behind the scenes of the greatest movie ever filmed, called Marriage.
What are we doing? Oh my God, you are messing up bad. Can you go back to the intro, please?
The doors of the Love Church are now open. Dear world, you name it, we cover it from the world of singles to the behind the scenes of the greatest movie ever filmed, called Marriage. We dig into everything from dating 101. Why won't they commit? It's complicated. I can't do it if it's the three of us. They're a good person, but I'm not attracted to them in that way. 2, they really didn't disclose who they were before I said I do. How do I do this if they can't keep a job? The bills are paid, but the bedroom is suffering. Did I marry you or did I marry your family? Because we only can take care of us. Let's open up our marriage. Why do I have to buy into your beard gang illusion? You could have told me you were down low and we could have remained friends and not married. And last but not least, did you marry me or your pastor? Have we gotten your attention yet? If so, tune in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, if you want to hear more of today's real issues in the world of love. The doors of the Love Church are now open.
All right. Somebody just, I mean, I let somebody go in there and rant. I'm like, okay. Anyway.
You're supposed to be professional. You're not supposed to do that crap.
I know. All right. So first off, Happy New Year to everyone. And greetings and welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio 2025. Hey, Adam. So if you think about it, Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio has been going strong since November of 2017. Remember on Bronzeville in Chicago?
Oh, that's
where it all started, November 17. So yeah, we've been pushing it a bit here.
Yeah,
we had some different iterations. We done went through like 2 or 3 iterations. But we've been surviving through the seasons.
And it looked like this iteration kind of stuck, huh? Like this version of Love Talk Radio kind of stuck. Dang on it, man. Shoot. I mean, can a brother get paid? Can a brother get paid? Can a brother get some dividends in his pocket for the service and the contribution that he making? That's all I'm saying. Man. Happy New Year, everybody. What's up? How y'all doing?
Yes, Happy New Year. So, okay. Yeah, man. First, we always do a quick passover of just the world in a whole. And so it's our prayers go out to the families that are affected by the tragedy in New Orleans. It's just so, I just don't get it. But the thing that always comes back to mind is people can claim and say reasons for why we do and we don't do different things. But to me, the core of it is mental illness. A lot of people are struggling with mental illness in one capacity or another.
Right.
And because they don't have the grit to hold on, and that's not a shock. People need help, right? And not everybody are in positions to hold on like they should. So if we're not getting that help from the necessary help centers or crisis hotlines or whatever, we're just taking life in our own hands and letting the matters ensue as they will, right? And things are happening all over the country and all over the world. And so we definitely have to be more vigilant and pray more, to be more aware, because you don't know where things can. I'm sure those people had no idea. They just walking them down the street that was going to be their last walk. You understand what I'm saying? That's just crazy.
Real talk, man. I mean, I definitely agree and concur with the whole mental illness situation. The fact that, a lot of us are suffering mentally, emotionally, dealing with the issues of life. And some of us are just not equipped to be able to do that. And here's the thing, though, everybody: life happens. Life is going to do life. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. The hope and the desire is that you have a support system that can help you make it through the difficult times so that you don't have to feel like you're in it all by yourself. And I think a lot of times people do what they do to such an extreme extent because of the fact that they feel like nobody else is there with them, that they're going through what they're going through by themselves. So it's important that, that you have a support system that can help you, and I would even go as far as to say, who is checking on you and who are you checking on? You know what I'm saying? I think it's time for us to really start to be our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper, and really begin to extend the care and the concern that we ought to have as a family for one another, so that whenever one of us is down, we can, check on them to see how they're doing. I just think it's really important that we have that system of support that can help us make it through difficult times.
Yeah, that's real. And it's like you said, this is not the time to do what most of us can do by default, and that is be private. We suffer in silence, right? And be private because we don't want to. Sometimes we feel as though what I'm dealing with is too heavy for them, so I'll spare them.
Wow.
But then they end up not getting spared when we lose us, right? When we leave here and we didn't reach out for the necessary help and support. Now the people that you call yourself protecting end up hurt anyway. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And you know what, too? I'll add this to it, and that is the fact that I think sometimes we have a tendency to assume that somebody's okay. We have a tendency to just assume that because they look okay on the outside, that everything is good with them. But if I'm really your brother, if I'm really your sister, then that means I have to. It's not about being nosy as much as it is about really checking on your state of mind, making sure that you're okay, letting you know that we're here with you. And we can do as much as we possibly can do. You know what I'm saying? We can only do as much as we possibly can do. The desire is that you will allow us to help you through whatever it is that you're going through. You realize that you need the help and that you're willing to take the help that we're offering to you. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a bad situation,
Yeah. Because, even though we do what we do in this capacity, there's an even greater need for people to, like you said, to do just what you're saying and reach out to just people in general for help, because a lot of people are suffering at the helm of the lack of love or dysfunctional love, right? Or abusive love, whatever you call it. People are dealing with some stuff. And so then you have, you got all these holidays that come and go, and you have people who know how to wear the mask and get through them and be around family or not be around family or do whatever. But internally, they're angry and lonely, right? They're upset, angry, lonely. And so that's a whole set of emotions to deal with, right? Because for some reason, this season, you figure you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, New Year's, and right after that, here comes Valentine's Day. So it's like a four-piece. The four-piece nugget. So you just be like, all right. So it comes from one thing and another. And that's why Paul said in the Bible, Adam, I would that you would abide as I. Paul was single. He didn't have to deal with the foolishness. No, I'm just kidding.
My God, are you serious right now?
Let me relationship with family is amazing. So, everybody should thrive for that in the most healthiest of ways if you could find it. But anyway. All right. So today, with all of that being said, at the top of the year, I thought it would be befitting to speak on a topic, the game of love, feelings, emotions, and logic versus, I meant to put on here, self-control, resolve, and faith. And the reason I came with that is I think a lot of what we all want to retain, obtain, keep, or whatever that is, falters when we lack the proper management of our feelings, of our emotions. I'm not saying we don't have them. We just don't manage them well, right? And our logic. Sometimes as men, we overthink things too much. Sometimes we call ourselves being the planner or the leader, or I'm trying to head off at the pass. And sometimes it's wise to get a high level overview of things and just kind of survey the land. But then it's healthy for you to just kind of let kind of kick back and just let it flow, right? We men, we like to often just make sure we're dotting every I before you look up the whole paper full of dots, right? And that wasn't the intention of the portrait. But we need to think about that in terms of, and like you said, women, I think a lot of times we get into these things and we blame our genders for the behaviors that we display. We'll be like, well, I'm a man, that's why I'm logic. I'm a woman, that's why I'm emotional. But those don't have to necessarily be the first badge we meet when we see you, like a cop, right? We can manage them in a way that they don't overtake us. We just have to take the wherewithal to do the proper work to be able to do it, because it's not an easy thing. I'm not going to even lie, but it can be done if you put the work in, right? And so as a result of that, when we fail to manage those three I just mentioned, we end up in instances where we show a lot of lack of self-control. We're not able to resolve with our partners. That means when you call yourself speaking on something or having a conversation about disagreement or a lack or an issue or a complaint, it seems like it's a run-on sentence that never leaves. It's like you're always revisiting this thing. And you're like, wait, didn't we just talk about this? No, because blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, oh, so you can't reach resolve. And then lastly, those breakdowns of feelings, emotions, and logic can diminish our faith, right? Our ability to reason with belief. And so if we don't believe, or if we don't have faith, everything we just talked about is a moot point. Like if we don't believe that we can have something amazing or something resilient or something great, then we can't expect our partners to believe it, right? If you don't believe it, the other person is not going to believe it. You know what I'm saying? So we got to think of it like that. So real quick, I'll read this since Mr. Ford, quote unquote, is a little.
You know what? I was going to step in, but no, you
go under the weather.
Since you want to roll with it like that.
Wait. Do you feel healed? Come on, go ahead and read it. Go ahead, you can go ahead and read it. I prefer you read it. Go ahead. If you want to read it, go ahead. All right.
I'll read it. It's always been difficult to imagine the words love and game being mentioned in the same sentence. However, many find it difficult to take the straight route of showing vulnerability, leading with authenticity out of fear of love not being reciprocated or being seen as prey or lame. I know, it's a shame, right? So this opens the door for the alternative strategy of elusive behavior, emotional unavailability, and mysterious persona, which actually seems to garner more attentive curiosity and vows of breaking through that behavior from the opposite sex. Let's face it, if we're honest, we've all been guilty at one point or another of either allowing feelings to cloud our judgment, emotions to display irrational behavior, or logic to completely overthink it all. On the other hand, we also allow the aforementioned characteristics of feelings, emotions, and logic to cause us to lack self-control, find difficulty in reaching resolve, and lastly, to lack faith that it's deservingly attainable to us.
All right. So
yeah.
I mean, what can we say that has not already been said about, what can happen when let's start with feelings. We all have them. That's why we desire love. That's why we fall in love. Feelings, right? Those are the things that's the kind of motor that gets us going in one direction or another when it pertains to love.
Mm-hmm.
But when our immaturity is on display, and when I say immaturity, we don't manage what we have. Like, just it's no different than someone having a good job and you coming home and the person that you're maybe married to saying, well, do you have your part of the mortgage, or are you paying the mortgage? And the person say, well, I got paid today, but how about this? Next month, you sitting here like, you know what I mean? You come up with all these excuses because at the end of it, the person is bad with the money and they mismanage the money. So it's not that that this doesn't happen. We're human, things happen. But when it's consistent, it is evident that there's a problem, right? When it's consistent, something is wrong. So there needs to be some sort of intervening. So when it comes to emotions, we all have them. We have reasons for guiding our passions. But when we misguide them so often, it's a sign that's of a bigger issue. And so I think emotions are one of the things that just really causes a lot of catastrophic issues in a relationship, for sure. That's one. That's just my opinion. I'll let you go, and then before we go on walking through them, I'll let you kind of give your perspective on it.
I mean, I think it's important that as adults that we know how to manage ourselves, that we understand what our limitations are, we understand what our strengths are, we understand what our weaknesses are, we understand what our gifts and our talents are, and that we are able to manage our emotions, our feelings, and our logic in a way that helps us move forward in life. And like you're right, more often than not, we allow certain aspects of who we are to override how we should be and how we should think about things. And one of the things that you don't necessarily always hear talked about, but I think it's essential for a good life, is that of balance. But a lot of us are not in balance. A lot of us are out of balance. We're imbalanced. We're lopsided. We tend to, do what we do, and then we let the chips fall where they may. You know what I'm saying? And in effect, we have not properly managed ourselves in a way that is beneficial to those that are around us. Like you said, Charles, you're talking about the mortgage situation, and then, they're asking you, hey, do you have your part of the mortgage? You can't say no because we already have a standing agreement. So that means if you don't have what you're supposed to have to contribute for the benefit of the whole, that means you have mismanaged what you have.
Yeah.
And you have not given me what you're supposed to give me. How many of us do that on a regular basis when it comes to who we're with or who we're supposed to be committed to, that we mismanage ourselves in a way that we don't give ourselves in the way that we should. You know what I'm saying? We find ourselves, we come up short. We find ourselves lacking in terms of what we're supposed to do. Emotionally, we don't give. We don't share ourselves. Logically, we lack the ability to think analytically and pragmatically to be able to assess and determine solutions to problems. Then we, like you said, we allow our feelings to run amok. We're feeling this one moment, the next moment we're feeling like this. I mean, come on. Who wants to deal with that? And again, that's just a sign of imbalance, that we have not learned to live a life of balance. We're either doing one extreme or the other extreme. We're swinging like a pendulum from one side of the spectrum all the way to the other side of the spectrum. At some point, hopefully, you're going to get balanced in your life, right?
Yeah.
It's like when they rotate your tires. They do that so that your tires can be balanced, right?
They tell you to check it so often.
Exactly.
So often do it. Yeah, that's
right. Because from the normal, regular wear and tear that your vehicle goes through because you're using it, at some point in time, it's going to become unbalanced. And so you have to go through the process of rebalancing so that the car drives the way that it's supposed to.
And so then we go to, and that's good. Then we go to emotions. Now, before we get into emotions can be kind of defined several ways. So when let's just say if we're at a funeral, it's healthy emotion, right? When we're at a wedding, it's healthy emotion. You're happy, right? I look at when we add the kind of verb cadence to emotions, we're calling it emotional. So when we're getting emotional to me, from my perspective, is the actions, the elevated actions of birth out of feelings that came out of feelings, right? We get emotional when we start acting on our feelings, and when we get emotional, now it becomes, this is where the bad decisions and the bad things happen. So feelings is more so when we're stirring the pot of what we don't like internally. We're having these feelings. I don't like this. So I'm sitting with it for a bit. I'm letting it stew for a bit, which is unhealthy if we're not communicating it, right? But we're sitting with it. And even if we are communicating it, how are we communicating it? A lot of times when we are kind of letting this stir up the way it is, we come out, we mad, we're saying something that's technically not wrong, but the way we're saying it is just all over the place, wayward, abusive, and the whole nine, right? So when we get emotional, now it's like I'm in my feelings. And then when that starts to happen and we're emotional, now we're making those irrational decisions. Now we're choosing to do things, say things, go places, contact other people, right? Be with other people, right? Lie to our person, hurt our persons, and those things like that, because we're not thinking logically, which we'll get to next. We're not thinking, we're just acting. And so these things are affecting us on several levels. If you think about, each couple has their own set of issues, good, bad, or indifferent, that they deal with on a day-to-day level. But when you spread the disease of some of our feelings that don't need to be spread outside of your house, right? Or outside of your quote unquote family network, now we're spreading the thing that's wrong. We're giving it like a mass situation, right? And when it's out there like that, now it's becoming, now you're making the whole surroundings toxic. And now it's like you can go anywhere you go and somebody knows the business, somebody know this is wrong. Oh, you would be doing better by your wife at home. You won't have to worry about that. You sitting there like, what? Who told you this? But anyway, so all this kind of stuff is going on, and we're not containing the things that's between you and I that we need to discuss. We're getting mad and we're starting to seep it out, and we're talking about it. And once you start to seep it out, you open yourself to receive and hear all sorts of things that are not so conducive to your relationship or your marriage. You just welcome in, it all come in, and it comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And when that thing hits your person, you don't know what they're going to do with that information, what they're going to do with that influence. And then, things that are kind of unforeseen begin to happen. We get to see our person change into another person. You see the behaviors becoming different, and you're like, wait, I mean, we need to talk about something, you know what I mean? And so a lot of times when it's at that point, the person is past talking, they're now just doing, right? And so that's why we need to definitely do better management with feelings and emotions. Now, here is the characteristic, Adam, that probably is the catalyst of a lot of narcissists, right? And that is logic. Logic is on one sense, it sounds harmless, because when you hear logic, you're thinking, I'm only here to make sense for you and I, right? But logic in the wrong hands become puppetry, manipulation, right? Logic can become, I I now see my power on this chessboard, and I know how to maneuver all of these kings and queens to my benefit. So that's the thing. The thing with men that makes us great, how God has made us, logical and thinkers and builders, creators. It also can implode and make us quite wicked if we're not careful, because it's a gift nonetheless. So you got to kind of manage it well, and make sure you're not letting it fall, on ill hands. I'll let you go.
Yeah. So I think I want to focus on the fact that, and it's interesting, if you talk about this kind of thing at the beginning of the year, a lot of us make resolutions as to what we're going to do, particularly when it comes to our weight. We want to go work out. We want to eat differently. We want to eat healthier, but then, usually you make that resolution or that decision that you want to get in shape and you want to lose weight. And you usually burn out by the time you get to the end of the month. You're not going back to the gym. You're not working out. You're not eating right anymore. And all of that has to do with the fact that you lack self-control. And if you think about it, self-control is not just about you being able to pick up a weight or go on a jog or even eat certain foods. But self-control has to do with how you allow your emotions to express themselves, how you allow your feelings to lead you, how you think about certain things and do certain things. And we live in a society, Charles, where it's all about doing what makes you feel good. It's all about doing what brings you the best buzz or makes you feel a certain way or whatever like that. It's not about you having, Demetra said it, discipline and self-control as to what you will and want to do. Because again, it's all about me doing what makes me feel good, doing what pleases me, doing what fulfills me. And so discipline and self-control go out the window. We don't exercise it the way that we should. We don't use it in a way that helps us to do the thing that we should do. And then let's just use that as an example. So I'm having a discussion with my wife about something, and I want her to see it my way. I want her to do it the way that I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But, because of the fact that I'm not going to use self-control, instead of me really having the ability and the discipline to have a rational conversation, I go to screaming and yelling and hollering, trying to get my point across as if I was a young child who needed to be disciplined at that moment in time, so that we understand that you can't always have what you want. Yeah. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. And I'm going to put it out there. Like, when we were raised as kids, at least for the majority of us, our parents, particularly for me, my mom, always made sure that I behaved in a way that was reflective of good home training. She disciplined me so that when I grew older, I knew what it was to conduct myself in a way that was becoming. You see what I'm saying? And so now, as I am a man, I discipline myself. I discipline myself because I received that discipline that my mother gave me. So many of us, having been raised in various different households, have forgotten what it means to discipline ourselves. Wow. In terms of really managing ourselves in a way that is productive and beneficial to other people. Wow. Yeah, just saying. So you allow your emotions to go all over the place. You allow your rationality and your logic to run it. You allow your emotions to do anything. Where is your control? Where is your ability to control you? Because it's obvious we can't control you. I don't want to control you. So when are you going to learn how to control yourself?
Wow. That's a good point you brought out, because when I think about that, the greater part of relationships that either witness or or a part of my own self, past, present, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, we're used to environments where people yell, fuss, and scream to get results.
Right.
Me personally, I've always been a fan of, I want a person to show me what you have for me without me requesting it.
Okay.
Because that shows me really who you are with me, right? Mm-hmm. If I have to fuss at you and say this and complain about this, that, and the other, then I'm twisting your arm to love me. I'm not allowing you to love me freely. Okay. I'm bargaining in you in a way to say, you need to do this. And I get it. We have been taught for years, we hear the songs, R. Kelly, When Woman's Fed Up and all those things, right? So it makes it seem like, to a degree, it makes it come across when I hear a song like that I'm only going to rant and rave about my lack for so long. And then after I've had enough of it, I'm going to do an about face and you're going to be left to deal with the residual, right? In reality, yes, it's a song. It sounds good. But in reality, that's not good enough for a marriage, right? I mean, for a marriage, yeah, you can fuss and you can argue about a relationship and say, well, it's just sorry, life is too short, I'm going over here, because you're not married. Both of you all are single, right? Mm-hmm. But when in a marriage, you feel like we owe each other some conflict, some healthy dialogue to talk about this, not just to react. Because we all are too good at reacting. We're good at making other arrangements for our lack. Okay. But that's unhealthy, because what we fail to realize is when we make pivots and when we go over here and go over there, the common denominator is you're taking the same person. You're going to these places. It's not like you're going somewhere and pressing the reset button and here comes a new version of you. It's the same person. Same you, right? Same person. The good, bad, ugly is going right on over there. So I say that to say we avoid doing that work to better manage our emotions, better manage our feelings and the way we think logically or not. If you keep that same regimen, it's going to show up everywhere you go. It's amazing how at any given time a person can go out and meet somebody new, and you can look and say, man, how is that person still single, or this, that, and the other? They look like they got this, and this person should have this, and it all looks well. But the story behind the story, in most cases, is a trail of mismanagement. It's a trail of mismanagement. It's like, yes, we can be good looking enough, or make enough money, or be charismatic enough to make someone want to marry you, right? And to be drawn to you. But if we don't work on those inner workings that lack maturity and management, it's going to show up everywhere you go. And everybody has a different response to it. You might have one person that's going to fuss at you and say, oh, you selfish, you spoil, you need to stop all that. And the person going to normally say, no, I'm not. You just are not doing your job as a man or a woman. But the next person, when you get to them, they're not going to say you're spoiled, you're selfish. They're going to be quiet. They're going to listen to you. And when you don't show those results, they're just going to leave. This is the ghosting era. People aren't doing a lot of talking no more. They turn it into Casper and being out. Right. Yeah. So, and that's the thing that's damaging a lot of people emotionally, because it comes a lot of times, if we're honest, if somebody just ups and ghosts you, stop communicating, block you, and you have feelings, that's going to jolt your system a little bit. You're going to be like, you're going to feel a tremor, as they say, from the from the earthquakes. You're going to feel a little bit you're going to feel a feel away. You're going to be like, wait. But nowadays, that's the norm.
Wow.
And you hate to say it, but it's almost like you have to do some combat training internally to prepare for it. You know, like in the war, in the army, you prepare for war, right?
Yeah.
But in love is the only thing we go into with no weapons.
Wow.
We just go into it. No bullets, no vest, no helmet, no boots for the terrain you walking in. You just, I love you. Can we go to Ruth Chris? All right. And that's it. That's just, you know, we just silly and smiling, and I'm gonna go be with you, and we're gonna spoon, and that's it. And it's like, but we don't prepare ourselves for those uncertainties that arise, because at any given time, somebody can be talking to you from day to day, and it will appear habitual, and you'll feel like, oh, this is consistent. I like this. It's good. But you don't know what's going on the rest of the hours of their day, who else they're communicating with, who else they're being influenced by or allured into. So all of that happening at once can create a very unhealthy gumbo, which sometimes you may not come out with the best taste buds of it. You may come out on the losing end, and that person may just wake up one day and decide they're going to make a decision for their life that doesn't include you,
right,
moving forward. And so we got to think about that, you know.
Yeah, I want to kind of clue in on what something Demetrius said, or they'll say, "That's just how I am," and I find that to be a refrain that we use to excuse our behavior or how we are, without recognizing that there are certain things about us that that should change. That's how I am, and you need to accept me as I am, and that's it. And there is no changing me. There is no fixing me. There is this. What you see is what you get. Now, to some degree, yes, I, as a person that's going to be a part of your life, I need to be able to accept you as you are. I should not come into your life trying to change you or trying to, make you different or trying to make you fit my life better. But the reality is that as a person going into and being a part of a relationship, I myself ought to be able to recognize the areas within me that need to change to better accommodate the relationship that we're in. And this is the fact. This is what we often don't want to come and face how we should be. Because again, if I'm going to be in a relationship with you, and I think I might have said this before, it means that in order for us to be together, we have to adjust our lives to better accommodate one another. Otherwise, this is not going to work. You doing it your way and my doing it my way are going to be on two different paths, and we're going to end up growing apart from one another instead of growing together. But when I'm able to recognize within myself that there are certain things about myself that I need to change, there are certain areas in my life that I need to develop, there are certain aspects of who I am as a person that I need to begin to work on, this is when I begin to operate within the principles of self-control and self-discipline. It says that I'm not going to always do what I want to do. I'm going to do what works for the both of us together in this. I'm going to do what is of benefit to both of us in this relationship. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to be able to say to ourselves, and this is something that we might not necessarily want to do, and it's probably going to rub you the wrong way. At some point in time, you're going to have to learn how to say no to you. No to what you want to do for the benefit of somebody else. What's the point of being in a relationship if you are the only one that gets all the benefit out of it? What's the point of it?
That's
you know what I'm saying? You ought to be able to say no to yourself for the benefit of somebody else. And that, again, we don't always see it that way. We see it, if I'm not happy, then you're not happy. Well, come on, man.
That's selfish. That's
Come on,
selfish.
man. That's very selfish, very narrow-minded. And
Yeah.
again, why are you in a relationship if it's all about you? You might as well stay single by yourself. Just saying.
But you know what? Now, this is getting very sensitively true, because it's so easy to get set in a one-way highway relationship if you're not careful. And that consists of a person that can get stuck in just seeing it one way. And heck, I've been guilty of it. I can be honest. And I have done it in a way that's not even necessarily controlling at all. It's just, it's indirect, but it's deliberate. And many of us are guilty of living on our own, loving on our own terms while in love with someone else, right? Love on your own terms while in love with someone else. That can be tricky, but it many of us do it because for whatever reason, we come up with excuses to defend and maintain who we are to the core. Maybe we've been in World War I, II, III, and over here, and we have vowed going forward, I'm not going to have these kinds of conflicts anymore. So as a result of this, I have drew out a map of how this person's life is going to be. You know what I'm saying? How it's going to navigate, and it's not going to veer off path, and it's going to be this. And so, yeah, I mean, it's an unhealthy thing and practice that we develop, but it's very real. Unless the way to get out of that kind of mindset, and I can speak for myself, is sometimes we encounter the opposite sex of a person that we're in relationship with, and sometimes not every person can pull that out of you. But if you're with the person that's aligned with you, you have that kind of communication, and you can talk, and that trust is built. You trust what they say to the point that when they make you aware of how you're showing up, you feel inclined to make adjustments. I'm not saying it's overnight, but you take it into consideration to say, you know what? I know this is not an overnight affair, but at the same time, this person deserves for me to show up better. So let me consider what I have not been doing and rethink my steps going forward, considering them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me just add something further to the whole idea of being able to say no to yourself. Because it just can't be within the context and the parameters of a relationship. Being able to say no to yourself, being able to discipline yourself, being able to be in control of yourself has to happen with you by yourself as a person. So the real test of no is not just being in a relationship and being able to say no to yourself for the benefit of somebody else, but real balance is being single and being able to say no to something that you will ordinarily say yes to.
Yeah.
This helps you to better manage yourself, especially when it comes to being in a relationship with somebody else. Because now I'm not just saying no because I'm in a relationship, but this is a lifestyle for me. This is how I live my life. This is how I, walk this path. I'm doing it because of the fact that it's about us, but it's also about me growing and maturing to the person that I need to be.
Wow, that's good stuff. So, okay, so when I had posted this, I forgot to mention this, but someone had mentioned to me in my, ever so historic DMs, the person that said, why did I choose? Like when I talked about the title, I said the title is The Game of Love, right? And they were saying, why does it have to be looked at as a game, right? And I said, most of the times when we play games, let's take it back to when we kids. You have children that if they were an only child and they had a pretty good repository of toys, they'll play with themselves, right? They'll be over there pushing cars, whatever. But the real game begins when you have another person to play it with, right? And so now what that looks like in this world today is a lot of people, if we're honest, we get detested at the word game, but everything that we bring to the table that's less than straightforward is considered game, right? It's like it's a survival tactic is what we call it. It's like we survive until it's secure. That's pretty much what people do. The game ensues until it feels one person or the other feels secure enough to lock the door, and now I can start exchanging the real information. But initially, I have to tread this way because it's a safe way. We don't like to look at it that way, but that's what we do. That can look like a range of behaviors. It could be, like I said in the write-up, people acting mysterious, and you always got to wonder, well, something about that person, but I like them, but can't put my finger on it. It's because they don't want you to put their finger on it, right? It's right. Deliberate. So then you have the whole, then you have people will not necessarily stop communicating with other people. It's like everybody has their method, right? Maybe they're not being intimate, but they're still communicating with the opposite sex while with you. Then you have people who will say they're with you, but we're dating, we're in a relationship, but then to everyone else outside of you, well, I just have friends, I'm just me, I'm just getting to know people. And the other person is not on the same page, right? But this is being told, but they're not on the same page. So you got all this going on. And then it comes down to even who I introduce you to, who I don't. This set of friends, family, do I take you over there? Oh, are we going to go to the church? Are we going to do this? All these things people reserve under the guise of their game. And that game is nothing more than a protective shield that remains around each individual until they feel safe to remove it. But sometimes that thing stays on for a long time, but it's for real. It's like we don't like to call it that, but even as adults, you got some folks, older folks that got some games going on. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm telling you, the game is real, and it's just like you would think. Wait a minute, aren't you this old? You playing this game? Yes. It's just like, but in everybody's world, the reason why I don't judge or criticize because everybody has arrived where they are, however they got there. Hurt, busted, disgusted, whatever, divorced, however you ended up where you are. So we don't know everybody's story, but what that does, it teaches you how to survive. And what that survival is often reflected as it's just a series of game tactics I have developed to protect myself until you earn my trust. Then I can slowly siphon you truth bombs of who I really am. But I'll give you enough to live and breathe off of with me, but I'll reserve this other part until I really know who you are. Because honestly, man, it is scary today for people that are still looking and still trying to acquire. I mean, people have so many closets and cabinets and people, and you just like, what in the does it end? Do you really want to be in a relationship? Everybody have so much going on, and it's just like, man, I can remember one time I shouldn't tell the story. I won't tell.
No, go ahead. Tell the story, bro.
I'm kidding. I haven't told the story in a while.
Yeah.
I can remember dating this person, and the person initially we dated the first time. And this is going to be honest, the person got on my because they were super, super insecure. And I'm not even just saying this and not including myself. They were really, really insecure. I'm just keeping it a bug, even if they were listening. So they were really insecure. So we had a crash and burn. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me either. All right, then go on our separate ways. Then the person reached out. They apologized for their behavior.
Okay.
So I was just like, because at the time I really wasn't in another relationship or anything. So we were just like, we talked about it.
Right.
Okay, fine. Not even a week into reconnecting with this person, we're trying to talk through those things that broke the first time.
Right.
This person, so I would say, hey, we have a conversation, we talk. All right, I'll talk to you later. Let's just say this is a Monday. Tuesday morning, the person will call me, we need to talk. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, I just need to make sure I can't be somebody's, what'd she say? I can't be somebody's placeholder. And she said, I need to make sure I know what's going on, because here, check this out. I don't want to, she said, I don't, I'm not a person that's going to date multiple people at the same time. So I just need to not to know what's going on. So my time is not going to be wasted. And so I said, let me start the car up. So then I said to this person, I said, you spazzed out the first time. We decided this wasn't a healthy thing. We left it alone. Right. You came back.
You came back.
So,
right.
So you dare come back concerned about your time? You wasted it coming back, because now you let me see that I didn't miss absolutely nothing, because it's the same thing. And the point I was going to say, that whole entire week, the person just kept nickel and diming me. And I'm just like, listen, give a person a chance to breathe and understand the lay of the land and understand you. Don't be selfish to try to control the narrative so much because you got something else you want to do. Mind you, the person had literally just got divorced, not even 3 or 4 months before the mayhem. So you see what I mean when I say she was such in a rush to enter back into the ring, but she had, like I always say, there's nothing wrong with the beautiful institution of marriage. Right. But don't enter the ring with the same bloody uniform you got beat up in the last fight with. Come back with something fresh and different. Wow. She, in her mind, what it was, listen, if I had to unpeel that onion, she wasn't comfortable not being married, right? For whatever reason, which is probably a financial, let's just call it what it is. So she was trying to hurry up and connect, because she kept, this is the thing, Adam, we all grew up in church, but I promise you, some of us in church, we make church have a bad name because we use it for all of the wrong reasons. And I'll tell you this particular person, instead of her saying, I'm used to a 2-income home, I have this daughter or son, and now I find myself divorced. And this is the struggle out here. Keep it a buck. Instead of saying that, we say, because I know it's not God's will for me to not be, I need a covering because I'm a wife. No, you're not. Right now, you're a single woman. You're not a wife, right? So let's keep this straight. You were a wife in your marriage, but now you're a single woman. And so don't come with all the games about the covering and all that. Listen, we all want what we want. We all desire what we want. But we got to stop playing these games to get to it. Be honest. I mean, because my thing is, the way she put that full court press on me, it was no way she thought I was going to convert in 3 months. And with erratic behavior, I don't care how fine you are. Right. All of those recipes don't work for me. So it's just, at the end of the day, it's just like, listen, man, we have to have emotional self-control. Nobody wants to marry anybody or take the relationship to the next level with anyone who doesn't have emotional or you don't have control over yourself. You don't have, you're not balanced. You don't have mental fortitude. To me, that's the best a person can offer you is the perfect offset balance of emotions. If you can balance yourself, that will encourage me and vice versa. But if we both are crazy, what's that going to help? Nobody, right?
Nobody.
Somebody has to have the balance. And so when it's just like real wacky and erratic, listen, when that scripture was written, I promise you, I can fit it. I can vibe with it 100 grand. When it says it is better to dwell, Adam, in the corner of a rooftop on top of the house, right? Than inside the house with someone who is super contentious. And that's male or female, either one, right? He didn't say it's better for a man to leave his wife. He just said it's better to dwell on that roof, meaning separate yourself, right? So we have to think about these things because we out here causing some emotional havoc, and it's largely because of our history, because of our past. We've dealt with a lot of infidelity, and we blame the next person for what happened to us, which is not fair. We can we can have empathy and care for you, but we didn't do it, right? I'm here to help in however I can, but I didn't do it. So you can't make me pay for what they stole.
Right.
That's why the company need to have insurance. They stole. Insurance cover it. Don't charge me for what they stole. And a lot of us, we are charging the next person for what the other person stole from us emotionally. And it's not fair. You got to settle your debt up or file bankruptcy before you go into that next relationship. But don't carry a debt that belongs to someone else over to your next. It's not fair.
No,
it's not fair. We do it all the time, and we get in these things. And you ever been, Adam? You ever had a conversation that got a little emotional, and you say to yourself, "Wait, are we still arguing about the same thing, or just something else?" Sometimes I'm gonna tell you how you know you're paying for another debt, Adam. I'm gonna give you an example. This is how you know you're paying for another man or woman's debt.
Okay. When
you have an argument, let's just say you and I say, Adam, you got the GPS on, and Maria says to you, I'm just joking, Maria. Okay, just disclaimer. Anyway, so Adam and Maria driving down the street, and Adam has the GPS on, and Adam is like, well, cut that off. I know where I'm going. I told you I'm from DC. And then you drive down the road, and then before you wake up, Adam, because you've been in Illinois so long, you wake up and say, "Oh, hold on, baby, I need to go get some gas." Where are we, Adam? It says New Rochelle in Jersey. What are we doing? And then the argument it goes all the way from 0 to 100. Now, be frustrated, be mad. But when that argument gets extra and it has extra emotion on it, that's not about you or that failed navigation. It's about something else.
About something else. Yeah.
Many of us do this to people. We get in relationships and we express what we did not get a chance to express elsewhere. And we take it out on the unsuspecting new person. And we got to do better at that, you know?
I mean, dude, yeah, it's funny because, you know, and I think we all sometimes, every now and again, we have a tendency to carry over experiences from previous situations, and we hold to task the other person who had nothing to do with it at all. They had nothing to do with it, but we kind of hold them accountable for it. And you're right. It's not right. You know, we need to learn, again, the whole idea of self-discipline with ourselves, but then also we need to learn how to resolve some things. You know what I'm saying? And just say, okay, this is it. This is the end of it. I'm not going to continue to do this. And it's funny because sometimes when you have arguments, they do get overly emotional sometimes, but then they kind of like you said, they go from 0 to 100 and you're not really sure. Wait a minute, are we still talking about the same thing? Are we still talking about the same thing? This feels like something else. This feels like something else. And that's when you have to really have an honest, transparent conversation about what the real issue is.
Yeah.
So that you can resolve it for whatever it is. Because even if it's not another person, a lot of times when we have arguments or heated discussions, we're thinking that the problem has been resolved, that the issue is over. But they're thinking in their mind, it's still an ongoing situation. And so inevitably, it'll get brought up again.
Yeah.
The next discussion that you have, it shows its head because it hasn't been resolved with that other person. That other person has not been closed for them. It's still open. And so at some point, we got to be able to say, okay, you know what? Let's really put all of our cards on the table. Let's talk about what you're not talking about so that we can resolve what the issue is.
Wow. Now, here's the thing, Adam. In a situation like that, when it becomes evident that there is something not being discussed, but you're both living with it and you're married, right? It's not like you could say to myself, let's take some time away and wait before we get married. You're in it. So when a person is in it and like I can imagine being in it and discovering, wait, there is some debt still here. Right, that don't belong here. I just open up that closet and that thing downstairs, and I see all this emotion come out from somewhere else. So how do we deal with that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to have an honest conversation about what you're not talking about, because a lot of times we, for whatever reasons, we have a tendency not to say what we really need to say or want to say, because we don't think the other person will understand us. We don't think that the other person will hear us out and give us the benefit of the doubt. We don't think that the other person is open to what we have to say. Yeah. But if your lines of communication are really open the way that they're supposed to be, there ought to be a safe space, a secure space in your relationship where you can really talk about how you really feel about a particular thing. And from that point, you can work to resolve what the actual issue is, not the symptoms of the issue, not the little things that show up outside of the actual issue, but the actual issue. And I think we need to be honest and say what it actually is. If you're mad, say you're mad. If you're upset, say you're upset. If you like something, in terms of what happened, then say that. It's only when you actually are honest with how you actually feel and what you're actually thinking that we can work toward resolving whatever the situation and the issue is. Otherwise, we're just playing a game. We're literally playing a
game.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we're not really being honest with what's really happening with us. You gotta open up your mouth. You gotta say what it actually is, even if you believe that it'll make the other person upset. Even if it makes the other person upset, at least now it's out on the table, and we can really deal with whatever the issue is. Now we're in a position to really resolve and close this particular chapter.
Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah. Another thing I thought about that I believe is kind of like a widespread issue in this quote unquote game of love is something that almost comes up all the time, whether it's the man or it's the woman, but you always hear, what are we doing? Where is this going? What are the plans? And you know what when I think about this a lot, the thing that comes to mind is direction starts with self. If you don't know where you're going, you cannot blame the other person for not getting you there. Everybody should have their own destination. And when you have a destination in mind, and when you are consistent with that, that prompts the other person that wants to be in your life to either let's have the discussion to make sure we get there together, or if our paths are that far from one another, then thank you for allowing me a chance to discover it early, right? But we cannot blame people. Like, no one shows up. Like, I'll never get into an Uber and not know where my destination is going. I'm not going to get into a cab. I'm not going to get on a bus, train, nowhere, and not know where I'm going. So my point is no different in a relationship. Direction starts with self. Let's stop putting our fate in the hands of another person, right? That's don't put your, I mean, we can talk and make sure we're on the same page and let's do this together and be great. Yes, that's great. But you need to have your own set of directions first and then let that ride ensue after that. But this whole thing of kind of wanting a person, it puts me in the mind of this. If I tell you, okay, Sonia, I'm telling you, want to know where we're going? In 3 months, we're going to be at Mount Kilimanjaro. And by the second month, we should already have driven through Portland. Are you sure? Yes. And guess what? When I don't make those marks, you told me, you know what? You play games. You told me we was going to be in Portland. And you know what? I could have went with Karen and them to Mount Kilimanjaro last month. But you know, I'm just saying, sometimes we set projections that are good and meant to be well. But with anything we plan, sometimes we need to make iterations of that plan. Sometimes a project don't go as smooth. You have to make a pivot. Yeah. So you got to, if you're going to be that person to ask for directions, be that person to be understanding of the pivot. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Be fair.
Yeah. Real talk. Yes.
Real talk. You know, you guys let's say a prayer for Adam on today. You know, he's under the weather, but I almost told him don't go ahead and do the show, but you know, he was having cabin fever. So I told him, I'm like, all right, go ahead and come on out and just be safe and have the show. He should have had his mask on, even virtually. But anyway, I'm kidding. You know, he came out and did the show anyway. So big ups. Appreciate you being committed, sir. Appreciate that.
No doubt.
All right. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys tuning in another week to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. Today we talked about the game of love and all of the things about emotions, feelings, logic, and lack of self-control, lack of resolve, and lack of faith. Let me say this though. Out of all the stuff we talked about today, if you don't believe you're deserving of anything great in the area of love, then the problem starts with you first.
True.
You have the responsibility to shore up that belief.
Yeah.
Nobody else can make you believe. Yeah, I could sell you a dream, shoot you some nuggets, take you on a few trips, take you to a few nice dining places, but that's not going to correct your feeling of belief for yourself. It has to come from you to believe that you are deserving of such things, you know. And I do want to say one thing before we go. I had posted something. Something was in my spirit late last night, Adam. I don't typically post at night real late like I used to do all these things, but I kind of cut back on a lot of stuff. But yesterday, something came on my mind. I wrote it down, and I wanted to share it with the people. I posted it earlier, but I wanted to share it here because I think it's befitting at the top of the year, right? So I'm just going to go through this really quick. It's called, the phrase for 2025 is let it go. All right, here we go. If it isn't healthy, let it go. If it isn't reciprocal, let it go. If it isn't emotionally safe, let it go. If it isn't intentional, unravel your delusion and let it go. If it isn't secure, know that you can't assure it and let it go. If you can't feel free in it, unchain your thoughts of it and let it go. If what they speak continuously tears you down, a meal, a gesture, even a gift can never repair it. Let it go. Almost done. If it only works because you work it, let it go. If it can be shared, it's not yours. Let it go. If you're only seen as an answer to a bill or a means to a desire, let it go. If you only offer yourself as a sex partner, you'll never be seen as a life partner. Let it go. If they never speak of the future with you, it's because they never intend to see it with you. Let it go. If they can't accept who you are, they're incapable of seeing who you are to be. Let it go. If your relationship with them consistently disturbs your peace, it doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be discarded. Let it go. And last but not least, if a hand raises in anger, it's a hand that can't be trusted even at resolve. So let it go. Hold on to this for 2025. Hopefully it helps somebody. It helps me. So hopefully it'll help you guys too.
I guess we're going to see how you're going to do then. I guess we're going to see how you're going to do whether or not if you let it go or not.
Oh, man, this is forget whatever, Joe. Nah,
I mean, you put it out there, so let it go, bro.
This was a prompting. I felt led to release that. It touches. Hey, like any preacher, you got to look at yourself first, right? No doubt. But I know that it's going to help somebody for sure. Yeah. Make no mistake about it. For sure. All right. Okay. On that note, I guess I'm halfway. Maybe I won't do unplug and I'll behave. Let's see. No, just kidding. No, but appreciate you guys for tuning in today. And as usual, we will see you guys next week, 4:30 Central Standard Time, Thursdays. All right.
You gonna let it go? What we doing?
Mr. Ford, tell Miss Maria I am sorry for holding you out long like this when I know she's ready to nurse you back to health. Just tell her my bad this time. All right.
I can't even say that. I'm already begging for mercy as it is. I'm already begging for mercy, man.
No, man, I appreciate you for tuning in. We're going to cut it on off and let the people go on. Everybody continue to enjoy the last of their new week and get prepared. Monday is when life starts back up again anyway. Yeah, no doubt. But anyway, all right, man, appreciate you for tuning in. Everybody, thank y'all for listening today. Next week, we'll be back at it again. Hopefully, Mr. Ford will be healthy. All right, y'all. Yeah, hopefully. All right, now. Peace.
Peace, y'all.